Yeah.
A screen video.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I'm going to tell the tale of Nasreddin. So Zoe, there was a young man a long time ago. This is like in the Middle Age time, before electricity, who lived in a town called Ulrak. And Nasreddin had a neighbor Bob, who he was relatively friendly with. And one rainy night, Bob tells Nasreddin that his wife has cooked a big pot of beans, and he'd like him to come over and catch up. So Nasreddin goes over, and they eat not just one, not just two, but 3 big plates of beans. And they drink
Terrible.
beer and vodka and wine. They really mixed the alcohol that night. And so Nasreddin, at the end of the night, gets up to go home because they were neighbors. He opens the door, but it's pouring outside, and it's cold, and it's foggy. So Bob says, "Hey, Nasreddin, you shouldn't go home now. Stay here. You know, you're a little bit drunk. I'm a little bit drunk. Just stay in the guest room, and then you can go home in the morning." Nasreddin says, "Okay." So they all get ready. He goes to bed. It's quiet that night. And then around 3 a.m., there's a gargling of noise, and it's coming from Nasreddin's stomach. Nasreddin wakes up, and he says, "Oh, I really got to go to the bathroom. I really got to go to the bathroom." And so he starts fumbling around the house, and there's no electricity, so he doesn't know where he's going. There's no lights. And he really, really has to go. Finally, he opens up a door, and this is the moment. He can't wait any longer. But the door he opens up is actually just a closet door. And so he looks around, and he finds a boot. He grabs the boot, and he pulls down his pants, and he just shits in the boot. And he fills up the boot. The boot is full of shit. And so he puts the boot back, and he still has to go. He grabs the other boot, and he fills up that boot as well. But he still has to go. You know, he had 3 plates of beans that night and a lot of alcohol. So he looks around in the closet. He grabs a hat, and he shits in the hat. He puts the hat back. He grabs the coat. He shits in the sleeves of the coat. And finally, he still needs to go. He grabs the umbrella. He opens up the umbrella. He shits in the umbrella, closes it up, puts it back. And then he's all done, but he knows he can't stay at Bob's house anymore. He needs to get home because he has a busy day tomorrow.
He needs to leave town.
He has a busy
there.
day tomorrow. And so he leaves. He strolls his way back to his house. And in the morning,
They're
Bob...
neighbors. Why doesn't he know where the bathroom is? Why doesn't he just assume it's outside?
He was drunk. So he, the next morning, Bob wakes up, and he's looking for Nasreddin. He's not there. And so he's like, "Oh, I better go check up on him." So he decides he's going to go visit him that morning. So it's still kind of wet outside, you know, so he goes to his closet to put on some clothes. And he puts on a boot. And he's full of shit. And he's disgusted.
Are these like the fables your dad told you? Like, where are we
Yes,
going with
these are the stories I heard when I was 6 and 7. It's full of shit. And so he takes off the boot. He goes, "Oh my gosh, I'll put on my slippers." He puts on his slippers. He goes, "But I got to put on a coat because it's chilly." He puts on the coat, and it's full of shit. And he goes, "Oh my gosh." He takes it off. He goes, "Well, I better put on a hat because it is a little wet out there." He puts on the hat, and it's full of shit. And he goes, "Oh my gosh, what's going on?"
Like, he didn't walk into a wall of everything smelling like feces. Like, I don't know why.
Well, I think this is Albania. It's normal.
It usually doesn't smell.
It always smells like this. And then finally he goes, "I'll just take the umbrella." And he opens up the umbrella, and a bunch of shit falls out. And so Bob is very angry now. And he knows it's Nasreddin, and so he's got a grudge against him.
Rightfully so.
But later that day, Nasreddin is feeling good. He's feeling pretty good.
Really empty.
And he's been drinking some water for breakfast, and he's feeling hydrated. And he's walking throughout the village, and he sees a group of kids, a few of them, sort of playing and laughing and hanging out and talking. And he sort of walks up to them and he goes, "Hey, what are you guys up to?" And they say, "Hey, we're playing this game where we're trying to see who can throw a rock the furthest, right? That's the competition of the day." And Nasreddin says, "Oh, I used to play that game when I was a bit younger. I was the best." And the kids are like, "Oh, we don't believe you, Nasreddin. You're just skinny like a twig. There's no way you were the best at throwing rocks." And he goes, No, I was the best, and everybody thought I was the coolest because of it." And then he challenges them to this, and they go, "Well, yeah, we'll challenge you to this." And Nasreddin says, "But I only play for money." And the kids go, "Well, I don't have any money." And he goes, "Well, your parents have money. If you go home and steal money from your parents, we could bet on this game, and I'll bet you that I can throw a rock twice as far as anybody here. And if I win, I'll take the money you guys have, but if you win, I'll give you twice as much." Right? And the kids agree, so they all go home and they find all the pennies and quarters and gold bullion that they could find, and bring it over. And they nominate Steven, who is the strongest of the kids. Good old Steve. And Steve looks around. He tries to find a nice, well-shaped rock that's just of the right weight. Big enough that he can really throw it, but not heavy enough that it hurts his game.
He's like good at this.
Yeah, he's quite the discus thrower. And so he's looking around. Nasreddin's also looking around, and Nasreddin's able to find a bird that he plucks out of a bush. He puts it in his pocket. And he says, "Yeah, I have my rock." And then Steve finds his rock, and Steve's warming up, and he chucks the rock, and it goes far. It goes really far. It goes so far that everyone's pretty sure that they've won this game. And Nasreddin knows. He's like, "I can't throw nearly that far," because he was lying earlier. But he's got a bird in his pocket, so he takes out the bird, and he throws the bird, and the bird flies away, and it just keeps going and going until no one can even see how far it went, right? It gets out of view. And so he goes, "Well, I guess I won this game," so he steals the money and takes off.
He didn't steal the money.
He wins the money.
He wins the
He
money.
conned them out of the money.
Yeah,
He
Right,
conned
that's
them
a
out
good
of the
word
money.
for it.
There you go, that's right. And so he's feeling happy, and so he's now strolling through the village still, and then he sees his friend William. And William's leaning up against this wall. He's holding it up, and he walks up to William and he goes, "Hey William, what's going on?" And he goes, "Well, you see, I've been hired to help build this wall, but I'm holding it up because we forgot the cement. So I'm holding it up, and my other friend, he went to go get cement, and we're going to cement this wall, but I have to hold it. But I'm really tired, and it's really hot outside." And Nasreddin says, "Well, if you want, I can hold this wall up for you. And then when the other guy comes back and he does the cementing, whatever he's going to pay you, you can give me 10% of, right? And I'll finish this job." And he goes, "Oh, that sounds like a great deal. I get to take the day off and I get 90% of the money. That's great." And so the other guy, he leaves, William leaves, and the other guy comes back with the cement, and they finish up the wall, and the guy goes, "Hey, where's William?" And he goes, "Oh, he doesn't want to work for you anymore. He's all set," is what Nasreddin says. And then this new guy says, "Well, I guess then I'll just give you the money I was going to give him, since you're the one that was here for the job." And so he gives him the money, and Nasreddin just takes all the money and walks away. And so as you can gather, everyone in this village really is feeling not too happy about Nasreddin. They feel like he's not a good source of energy in the village. So they decide to have a town meeting without him. And they all tell their stories about Nasreddin and their experiences and run-ins with him. And eventually they all get really angry and they decide, "You know what? We're going to kill him." It gets that extreme. That's how much they hate him. And so they they settle on killing Nasreddin. But they don't know who's going to do it. Nobody wants to commit the act. And so finally someone comes up with an idea, and he says, "Look, one day We'll capture him late at night. We'll beat him up a little. We'll tie him up. We'll throw him in like a sack. We'll take him to the edge of a cliff, and we'll leave him there. And
Potato sack, right?
a potato sack.
Okay, alright.
And if he'll struggle, and by struggling, he'll fall over the edge and kill himself. And that way, no one's responsible for this murder of Nasreddin.
I like this idea.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
Just the kidnapping.
Well,
So
The cliff.
And manslaughter. It's only
it's
manslaughter.
only
He did it himself, though.
yeah, he did. Honestly, it's not even manslaughter.
Yeah, and it's suicide technically.
It's town assisted suicide.
So one warm summer night, they hit him over the head, they beat him up a little, they tie him up, they throw him in this potato sack, and they take him to the edge of this cliff, and they just leave him there. Now Nasreddin knows he's on the edge of a cliff, he can tell, and because he heard them talking as they were dragging him. Yeah, let's leave him at the edge of the cliff. And so he knows he's on the edge of a cliff, and so he's very still, and he just waits there. He just waits and waits, and he's patient. And then 7 hours later, he hears the ringing of a bell in the distance. And then he hears more bells and many bells, and then he hears the baying of a sheep. And so he knows there's a flock of sheep coming towards his way. And finally he hears a voice from a shepherd saying, "Hey, what's going on here?" And Nasreddin responds, he goes, "Hello, sir. My name is Nasreddin, and I come from the village of Ulrock. And I am partaking in a special ritual." And the shepherd says, "What is this ritual from Ulrock?" And Nasreddin says, "Well, the way we select the ruler of the village is we tie them up and put them at the edge of a cliff. And the person has to stay here for 3 days and 3 nights. And if they're able to complete this task, they become the ruler of the village." And the guy goes, "Wow, that seems like a pretty sweet gig. What do you get as the ruler of the village?" And he goes, "Well, you get the biggest house. You get a monthly allowance of 27,000 tenge and 3 servants to do whatever you need them to do." He goes, "Oh, well, why don't, that sounds amazing." He goes, "Yeah, but I don't want to be the ruler of Ulrock. It's too much work. You have to hear people's problems and resolve them, and if you don't do a good job, people will be mad at you." And the shepherd says, "Well, I think I'd like to be the ruler of Ulrock." And then Nasreddin says, "Well, if you want, you can switch places with me, and if you do this 3 days and 3 nights, you'll be the ruler." He goes, "But I get to take your sheep." And the shepherd thinks about it, and it's a lot of sheep. It's a wealthy shepherd. And he says, "Okay, let's switch." So he unties Nasreddin, he takes him out of the potato sack. Nasreddin ties him up, puts him in the potato sack, puts him on the edge of the cliff, and then kicks him down. He takes the sheep, now a new wealthy man, Nasreddin, and he goes back to Ulrock
Why would he go back?
and lives happily ever after.
I read that.
As the richest man in all of the village.
He is the richest guy.
That was a dumb story. Okay.
Well, it had a moral to it.
Yeah.
Did it?